All right, welcome everyone to today's Google Webmaster Central Office Hours Hangouts. My name is John Mueller. I'm a Webmaster Trends Analyst in Switzerland and currently in Mountain View with a bunch of really smart SEOs who managed to make it to the Hangout here. Do you all want to introduce yourselves quickly?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ashley, normally from Colorado, where there's a bunch of SEOs drinking beer and watching right now. Me too. And I work for a local SEO guide and just came here to hang out.
I'm Michael Kwok. I'm the CEO of ZipWorks. We're based in LA in Santa Monica. We do e-commerce, do a lot of SEO, but just kind of dropped by just to check it out.
I'm Alberto Medina. I am part of John's team. I am focused on the content management ecosystem, part of the web, and working in everything, performance, best practices, and tiny bit of SEO.
Hi, my name is Dennis. I'm an SEO specialist at Macy's. I focus on technical SEO there. And I have a big group of people that probably watch me right now. Hey, everyone.
Hi, my name is Vlad. I'm an owner and operator of a website called Hiya.com, a consumer review website that serves all of the U.S. We're based in Seattle and Sacramento. We focus on content and providing a platform for users to voice their opinions, and that's it.
My name is Massimo Paolini. I'm the CEO of the Spectrum Group Online. We're a Silicon Valley-based digital marketing agency.
Okay, so many different people. And who's watching live? Or who's here in the Hangout live?
Barry, I see you.
Barry?
Nobody, no, I'm lurking.
Oh, you're lurking. You're not here. Okay. All right. So we have a handful of people here. So that's good. Do any of you want to introduce yourself? I guess that's a no. Oh. All right.
We would. So, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We're not SEO professionals, so I hope we're in the right place here. We're just the owner of a website that we've had some issues with. We've consulted lots of SEO professionals and can't get to the bottom of our problems, so we thought we'd come to the best people and see if we can ask our question later. So thank you for having us. We're from Australia.
Wow.
My question is in the post, so I don't want to jump the queue, but my question's in the comments somewhere.
Well, since you're here already, why not just ask a question?
Can I? Thank you. Okay, so we have the homepage of our website suffered a massive drop in rankings about 3 weeks ago. It had done really well for years, and we've worked quite hard on it. And then overnight, it just disappeared. Not being an expert, my first instinct was to try and republish the site to see if there were any issues with it. And we were given a message by our RapidWeaver software that there was a PHP and HTML version of the file on the server, which I know is not good. And when I spoke to my husband, he said he'd also been given that message a few weeks earlier. So we think we had a duplicate version of our homepage out there for a few weeks. Straight away, we deleted the PHP version because that was the new one. The original was HTML, and we fetched the site as Google and we resubmitted to be indexed, and the site popped back up within an hour. It was back, but it disappeared again, and nothing we've been able to do has been able to bring it back. We've done all the things I think we're supposed to do to indicate that the HTML is the original version. So we've added a canonical tag, excuse me if I'm saying these things wrong, to the homepage. We've advised Google Webmaster that the W version is the preferred site. We've done so many things with the help of an SEO professional too. done a 301 direct the index.html to their domain. Nothing seems to be working. And we've done some on-page optimization as well. So we added a H1 tag. We've made the page load time better. We checked out our backlinks and we disavowed 2 that looked quite dodgy from early October. But other than that, we've reached a bit of a dead end and we're not sure what to do next, really.
So did the site disappear completely, or is it just not ranking as well as it used to?
So it is indexed, it is in there if we do the site search, but it won't come up for a search of our business name at all, and it won't come up for a search of the main keywords, except if I ask for it to include omitted results, and then it's on page 13. So it's a massive drop. It was in position 2 on page 1, and it's gone to page 13 in omitted results.
Right. What would you all do?
I mean,
I would look at Google Webmaster Tools. That's the first thing I would do. So go to Google Webmaster Tools, use that to see if you have a manual penalty, or check your links through that.
Yeah, there's no manual penalty. The only links that we found that look dodgy, and I'll tell, we run an adult party plan business, so sex toy party is the main search term for us, and there were 2 porn sites that were linking to us, which we had never asked them to do. So we've disavowed those 2, which did look strange, but nothing else looks concerning, and there's no manual penalty that in the Webmaster Tools.
Have you also looked at your search analytics report in Google Search Console to see when the traffic dropped and for what pages?
Yeah, it's just the home page, and it dropped about a week after we originally uploaded the 2 versions of the home page. On the day that we did that, we uploaded the 2 versions. There was actually a spike in the crawl rate by about 3 times the normal crawl rate for our site. It went up 3 times on that day, and then a week later in the search analytics there are 3 days where there are there's no visibility of that home page. So it's like it maybe was de-indexed for a few days. It is back, it's been indexed, but it just won't show. So April Nights is the business name, and if we type that in, it's nowhere to be seen. Well, internal pages will show, but not the home page.
have you made any changes to your code or your content on the page?
No, nothing.
It sounds like a technical issue for sure.
Technical issue, yeah. I feel like we're missing something. We don't, there's something making it not show, but we just cannot figure out what that is. And then we're sort of hoping that, well, if it is some sort of algorithmic penalty, maybe that will just lift when it runs again and we just have to wait. But we don't want to be waiting if we haven't actually fixed the problem. And yeah, that's sort of where we're at. We have contacted a lady called Marie Haynes, who I'm sure you probably know, and she's going to try and help us next week. So I'm hoping she will find something technical that we haven't been able to find. But the local SEO company that worked with us a few weeks ago, they hit a brick wall, really. They just said, no, we're not sure, just wait. And waiting, obviously, is just killing the business. It's a 10-year-old business, and yeah, even the 3 weeks it's been gone, we can see the impact.
Yeah.
Can you put your domain in the chat? So we've got so many people here. Maybe one of us can take a look while I ask the question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you very much.
So just to double check, this is an adult content website, or?
It is, yeah, adult products we sell. So it's not porn or anything like that. We sell sex toys. So a bit like, I think you have Pure Romance in America. We do the same thing in Australia.
Okay. So
I'll put that safe for work at the beginning just in case.
kind of wonder, maybe that's also something that's kind of playing in there.
Yes.
That
those are definitely
harder
to write.
We might be assuming something, but we can. I think the link is in the chat, so
yeah.
Maybe one of you.
Does anybody want to lend me their computer? Who wants this on their search history?
So you stumped us with the first question.
Oh yeah, I have also been posting in the forum asking for advice there, so I'm sure people are sick of me by now. I've just been, living and breathing it for 3 weeks, and I knew nothing about it, and now I know a little bit, but obviously not enough to fix it.
April 9th.
So the only thing I get, I wonder if she's doing something locking.
Oh, okay. So when we're trying it here, we're just getting page.
Which is, I mean, we're at Google, so lock it. Google location.
Yeah.
What's he?
Oh. What's the robot text on the side?
Okay. Well,
April.
they're all digging into it.
Okay,
So-
so take the questions and circle back.
We'll come back.
Okay,
And
brilliant.
posting in the forum as well.
.com, yeah.
I don't
So-
know.
.com.au, yeah.
That's what
Oh,
I'm
that
looking
kind
for.
Oh, .au.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nights is spelled NITES, so it's a bit different. The link's there, though.
Awesome, thank you.
I can see you've got it there. I can see it on your screen. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a relief that even people like you will look at this for me, because, yeah, it's very stressful. Thank you.
All right. So let me just pick one of the questions that was submitted as well.
Actually, I have a question if I could ask it real quick.
All right, go for it.
I recently did a change of address, and I was wondering how long that takes. Like roughly how long does a change of address take when you submit it to Google Search Console?
So I guess for that to be submitted, you have to have the redirect in place.
Yeah, I already did that.
With the redirect in place, usually it's a matter of a couple of days.
Oh, okay, so it's been going on like 4 months now.
And so what are you seeing then? Is it?
I added both. I added the domain, the new domain, and the old domain to Search Console. And when I go to the old domain, it says, click here to change address. So I clicked here to change address and went through the process of changing my address from the old domain to the new domain. I already had all the 301s set up to automatically redirect to the new domain. But basically now when I go look at the change of address status, it just says, the site is undergoing a move. I can either withdraw or wait, but there's no other, I don't know if it's working or not, so.
Okay, that sounds like it's working. So probably.
Okay, so it's just.
Yeah. So what you can do is just search for maybe your company name or your business name. You should see the new address shown in.
See, that's kind of the problem. Like if I do a site : and search for the new domain, it comes up. It comes up with a new domain. But if I do a site : old domain, it still shows up, but it has the new headings, new descriptions, and it points to the new domain, or the new domain, but it's still showing the old domain in the Google search.
That's completely normal. That's essentially Google trying to be extra helpful in that it recognizes you're searching for the old one, so it'll show you something. But it sounds like we're already picking up the new one with the content. So probably
I guess it doesn't matter about duplicate content because it's basic. If I search for the page title in Google, both URLs show up. The old one and the new one, but if you click on the old one, it goes to the new one.
That kind of sounds like it should be working as expected. I mean, it depends a bit on what exactly is happening there, but definitely we're seeing the redirect. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do the change of address tool.
Right, and it's just that was all my question was. It just says the site is undergoing a move, but it doesn't give me I don't know if it's actually doing it or if there's a problem somewhere in between and it hasn't completed yet, or if I should withdraw my application and try it again. I don't know how long it doesn't say anywhere about how long it would take for a move to happen.
Yeah. So I think the Search Console tool just keeps that setting for 90 days, regardless of whatever is happening behind the scenes. But that's not a sign that something is still stuck.
Okay.
Essentially,
So basically like 90 days and you hope that it would figure it out.
yeah. So if
Okay.
you have the redirects in place, then it should work out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Have you
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
How do you feel about this? So I was checking validation on the code, and character encoding wasn't declared at the very top, which is strange, but it used Windows 1252, which I would expect to default to UTF-8. It didn't, but then it tried to change the character encoding halfway through and hit a fatal error. I don't know. We'll
I don't think we care.
they don't care. I care. So, all right, that's the first one.
We also look at the page and on the network. It says that the HTML has no cache setting,
I think that's fine.
so that's fine too.
Yeah. So, I mean, Google has to deal with a lot of broken HTML, and we've gotten used to it. So,
I'm also wondering if she went in, because she said they had a duplicate version of the page. Did she go in the index and try and remove the version they wanted to remove from the URL remover? That may help.
Google Search
If
Console.
Google, yeah.
Yeah.
If it thinks that there's a duplicate penalty, content, there's a penalty on that page, which is why maybe something.
I don't know.
So maybe she should 404 the original.
Right.
The
404,
original
which we probably already did. She
Yeah.
said she removed it, which means by doing URL.
Okay.
Care about
Deleted
Lots of discussions.
it.
Okay. I don't think we have the burning gun yet.
Okay.
The smoking gun.
What is a good search term to see how they rank in the results? Like what should I search for, like textile, and then like
What's the search term? Sorry, is that what you said?
it's real nice and you come up first. So,
When you search April Nights, we come up first.
yes,
Yeah.
But I want to see. So you're saying that you're not being ranked properly?
Yeah, for the search term sex toy party is the main one, but for us, when we search April Nights, we only see the About Us page or other internal pages. We don't see that home page anywhere.
Yeah, you romance.
Okay. I think we have to look a bit more into detail. Yes, question, first one. Good start. That's good. Okay.
Hey guys, how you doing?
So, hi.
I actually have a question. If you guys don't mind. I think everyone's trying to talk at once too much.
Okay. Maybe go ahead, ask your question. Jump on in.
Oh, okay, cool, thanks. Kind of a good transition was how do webmasters do like manual checks for rankings? Because last night I opened an incognito, I use your ad preview tool, and Google still loves to believe that I'm a robot, and obviously putting that on my timesheet, my boss doesn't get too excited when I'm having to click through signs and stuff and storefronts, and he's paying for it. And then actually last night I got a try again later saying that your computer network may be sending automatic queries, we can't process your request, and I just couldn't search at all through Google last night. And I was wondering really what webmasters, basically, like I would love to see what's on all of your laptop screens right now. Like, how do you guys check rankings? What's the best way to do it? Neutrally, organically, without any sort of behavioral
Without getting
things taking effect.
Yeah. I don't know. What do y'all use?
Google Search Console.
Google Search Console. That's what I use.
Yeah.
Exclusively for rankings.
Okay.
So I think the
I'm
advantage.
still new, so I apologize if the question's dumb, but
No, it's perfect. I mean, lots of people have this question. I think the advantage of Search Console is you see what people actually saw when they search for your site.
Yeah.
Whereas when you manually search, you might be searching for a term that people aren't using actually, or maybe you're searching in one location and your users are in a different location. All of those things kind of come together.
So I just put a link in. Whoops, yeah, in the chat that like you guys are familiar with the ad preview and diagnostics tool.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's basically what I use. That's the only thing I've been, because I can choose a location, I can choose a geo, and that seemed to get fairly.
But that's specific, I think, primarily for the ads side. So I don't know if that would be so useful for ranking checking. And if you use something like that quite a bit, then we will show the CAPTCHA and all of that. And especially if you use like a rank checking tool on the side, then it's even more likely that we show CAPTCHAs and maybe even block access for a while completely.
Okay. So so you guys go into Search Console and you put the website in and then you see what people see?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I recommend. I mean, there are other tools that use various ways to kind of track rankings as well.
Like what?
Like what?
Like what?
I can't really recommend them because they mostly scrape the search results, and that's against our terms of service.
Right. There is one tool that lately has changed that. It is Majestic. They concentrate on links. They use the Google Search Console API to give you rankings on keywords.
Same as the Botify. They're also using the API.
Okay.
So yeah, you can check there.
Botify?
Yeah.
Botify and Majestic. Thank you guys so much.
All right. More questions from any of you who are live or any of you here?
Yeah, I actually have a question.
All right, go for it.
So again, mobile first, going forward. So what is the take on Google? Because you're suggesting two different ways to have a responsive or adaptive website. Will it in any ways affect what companies are using, responsive or adaptive, in a mobile first world?
How do you mean?
Will you give any extra benefits if people are using responsive, or is there any benefit of using adaptive?
Not really. So we try to be kind of as acceptive as possible of these different variations. So if it's one of the variations that works for Google, it should just work. I think responsive is really useful because you can save yourself a lot of hassle. You don't have to maintain multiple sites, multiple URLs. So that makes a lot of sense. But it's not that we will give a ranking boost to responsive or any of these. Did you all hear that? I don't really know if it works like around the corner with the microphone.
All right. Well, thank you for announcing.
I'll ask another question on top of what you asked. So sites that have identical content both on desktop and mobile have nothing to worry about, essentially.
Identical content on desktop and mobile. It kind of depends on how you mean identical content. Like if it's just the text that is the same, then the text,
HTML.
the text is already like a big part of what we use for ranking. But
content.
Things like structured data are important. If you have international site with hreflang, those links need to be there. If you have an AMP version, that link needs to be there. So all of the hidden aspects need to be equivalent as well.
Okay.
So not just like the visible text, but everything kind of beneath the scenes too.
But in the end of the day, it's all about making the users happy. That's the bottom line, right, John?
Well, it's about making the user happy, but if we don't have the information for indexing, Googlebot won't be happy.
Some of us can never be pleased.
That's why SEO has two audiences, right? The human and the bots.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, a lot of these things would just focus on the user and just would work. But from a technical point of view, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make it so that we can index it for search. And I think that's a large part of the reason why people do SEO is not to trick the search engines, but to make it so that this content is actually understandable.
But you know, I mean, I spoke today to a lot of people, and they're coming from different providers, SEO providers, and the number one problem is that they're not ranking on the first page. And this is the biggest problem that I never said number one, I said first page. So, and they're having issues, you know, and I think that's another article today appeared in the Canadian news where, you know, this is the biggest thing that we are dealing with, every agency is dealing with, you know, and I think that if you guys do some sort of video, I mean, Miley already did a video, but it takes a certain period of time to rank, and this is something that, you know, I'm dealing with and everybody else is dealing with. Do you have any answer for this that we can kind of, how do we reply to someone that came from another provider, has been answered the same question?
One has an echo.
You know, another provider already provided the answer and not providing the same answer again. What do we do? You know what I mean? You're in this. You're sitting in a very, very tough spot.
Yeah, I don't have a perfect answer for that. I mean, that's something where, as an experienced SEO, at some point you'll kind of see where the general problems are, and maybe be able to guide people that come to you and say, well, these are the expectations, this is what I can help with, and it will take this amount of time to actually work this out, and for Google to figure out what I changed. Okay. So that's something where I don't see it as being a pure, like, yes, no, simple answer.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I direct them to the Miley video and other videos, and then they come back and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that made that a lot of sense." And so it opens up their, you know, because they want a quick fix. And I said it's just not possible. You know, there's a lot of things behind it and reasons and why. You know, there's no quick fix to that. And then when you get into the technical stuff, they don't really care about that. They really care about the bottom line. You know, and that's really what we're dealing. They don't care about, I mean, you show them the 404s and you show them the stuff and you show them the mobile and you show them everything else. And the bottom line is it's their website that they care about, their product. They're not interested in all this, you know. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, they think to you already, so they have a little bit of interest, I guess. And if they're paying you money, at least they have some interest there.
Yeah, but it's really the goals. We focus on the goals, and in the end of the day, I convert them. Yeah, no issues with that. But it's just the other providers kind of give them all this. Hey, I'll do this for you, and I'll make you, you know.
So, but by the end of the day, like they promise you something. You know, you try for 2 months, you don't see the, you know, any changes. You will go back. You will go to somewhere else. You know, it's, you know, they will take money and all other providers, but at the end of the day, they will come back to someone who can actually do changes.
In the end of the day, they really know who the good providers are in town.
Well, there's the article on choosing an SEO and how you should engage with them from Google. I would steer them there because if you're intimately familiar with it and you use a third party to tell them where to go, then that has more authority than any one agency anyway.
And in our experience, anyways, with clients like that, it's more profitable to walk away than to try and get them.
Sorry, what was the last part? More what?
It's more profitable often to walk away from a customer like this than to try and.
And how about letting a client go away? That's the hard part. A big client. Big brand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's always tricky, but learn through experience.
If you guys don't mind, I actually have a question.
Okay, go for it.
Cool. Internal footer links, do they help with ranking for a keyword?
Not really. I mean, they help us with but it's not that we would use internal footer links to kind of promote specific content. but it helps us to be able to crawl to those pages, and sometimes it helps us to understand the context of individual pages within a website. But if it's a site-wide footer link, then that doesn't provide a lot of context for us.
Okay. Well, we talked about that. We talked about that stuff, but then transitioning into the same question, where if you're providing a service, remember we talked about that. If you designed a website, and then you put your name on the bottom, abc.com, and now you've done that in 100 websites. You said that you ignore that, right? You ignore that so-called credit, right?
For a large part, yeah.
Okay. So, but I still see that as a do follow in other 100 tools.
I think that's kind of normal. We ignore a lot of things that other tools still show as a link.
Okay, so you're not taking that into consideration. You're taking signals from somewhere else and applying that to their site, right? Like, but I mean, we see it on the other side, of the world, outside of the Google algo. We see that in other tools where, wow, I mean, they are getting traffic from this, and the client comes to you and says, "Whoa, 1.3 million, this guy has insane traffic, so he's seeing that somewhere else." And I'm coming back and saying, "Hey, these are stuff that they do ignore, but they're not taking into consideration." But he's like, "Well, they're getting traffic from there."
So you can't say that that's why they're getting traffic. Like, that's where I would course correct your client, is that they could be getting traffic in spite of those.
Right.
So just point them to best practices and say, hey, we don't know exactly why they're getting traffic, but that's against best practices, so make an educated.
I know, but I mean, he still wants it, and somebody else from our industry, okay, gave him the insights on that it is, violating the policy. And anyways, sometimes you can't, but it's good to know, again, so you are ignoring those little things. And so it doesn't really matter if it's credit from developers or if it's so-called anything else, right? That you're kind of using your clients for traffic.
I don't know what you mean with anything else.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people in my industry, okay, around the world, that are using their name and taking traffic from their client sites.
So, I mean, if people click on those links and go to the other site, I think that's perfectly legitimate. Like if you're dropping an anchor text SEO in 100 different sites around the world in your client sites, and then you rank for that keyword SEO, is that fair? It's not fair, right? Well, you could be ranking despite that. It's not necessarily because of that. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. That's something I think with a lot of these techniques is that in an ideal world, from our point of view, when we recognize something that's kind of going against our guidelines that we can kind of isolate, then we should just ignore that part. So a common example is keyword stuffing, where if we can recognize the keyword stuffing, maybe we should just ignore that keyword stuffing on those pages and try to rank the page based on everything else that we have. And that might be happening here.
So you ignore that too, like using that anchor text 100 times in your client sites and then your name.
Even if it's getting traffic, like even if people are clicking on it, you guys are still ignoring it?
Well, we don't see what people are clicking on. But if people are clicking on it, then your site is getting traffic from people clicking on it. So,
but it doesn't have a ranking
thing. I mean, that's something where ultimately if you put a sign out saying, well, I made this website, and people are going, this is a nice website, I'm going to go check that person out who made that website, I'm going to get one made too, then that's a good thing. That's not necessarily something that has to have an SEO effect, but definitely you don't care where they come from.
Right, but if you had like California, abc.com, that's like spamming in a way.
Well, I mean, if we can isolate that and just ignore it, I think that's a good approach.
Okay.
But you guys don't hurt us if we're getting traffic from those footer links from those clients or something like that.
If people are clicking on those links and coming to your site, that's like,
Yeah.
you can't stop that. So,
The purpose of the link, isn't it?
yeah, it's a link. That's how a link is supposed to work.
Okay.
How people click on it.
Right. Question about that. So our site has a lot of category pages, which probably look like thin content. Google, and I'm wondering, can Google localize that to their pages, or if we have a lot of those pages that don't have some thin content like that, do right overall?
Ooh, follow up. Might thin content on a category page actually be a good thing?
Okay. I don't know. I think it's something that is to some extent also extendable. That some category pages don't have a lot of content. I mean, to some extent, you can go through and try to create more content for those pages, or just index them if you want.
I'm sorry. Is everyone else having trouble hearing him?
I have no idea what my mouth is. Someone has some static. Okay, that's quieter. Okay, so thin content on category pages. I think to some extent some of that can be natural, and we can pretty much ignore it. It kind of depends on the site overall. Where if the thin content pages are just like a small part of the site, then whatever.
Right.
But if the primary part of the site is just thin content pages, then they're missing a lot of value that maybe the site could have. Right. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But I know there are different approaches to handling that. Some people look at their analytics and see like where people are jumping or like low kind of time on site and try to prune those pages out. Others work on improving that content. It really depends on the site and what you can and can't do. Right. I don't know. You guys have any experience?
I mean, Macy's has category pages that rank really well with nothing but product listings, right?
But yeah, we try to write some content, but we have so many pages that sometimes it's really hard to keep up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
do you try to no index some of those pages?
No. We keep them open. Yeah. We try to create content as much as we can.
Right.
But not creating just the content, creating the unique content. Mm-hmm. That's the key. Because if you just copy it from somewhere from Wikipedia,
right,
you're not going to get anything.
Still thin content.
Exactly. It's still thin content. But if you create the unique content, then that's the key.
I use like a 3-pillar system: educate, value, and ideas. That's it. That's what good content's all about. I think educating, doing things that shocks Google, right, John?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Shocks.
Well, not shocking. All right. What were you about to say?
I was going to say that I've faced a similar question in recent years. Our site has a lot of categories and a lot of subcategories, which we refer to as review topics. Right. And the consultant, Glenn Gate, that we hired, advised us that if we don't have any unique content on those particular category pages or review, something that won't add any SEO value, we'd say,
right.
It's better to just no index, but follow them because they're good for the users.
Them, right, yeah.
Or just make unique content, like Dennis was saying.
Right.
So we ended up, no following, or I'm sorry, no index, but follow.
But
so
follow,
Google could crawl everything.
I see.
And understand
the
the infrastructure. Yeah, it really did.
And that's the same. We have, in our opinion, we use the category pages more for a user or visitor item to help them find things, not for SEO. Our individual articles are what will bring people for the proper search. That's our philosophy.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear that well.
All right. So our philosophy when it comes to category pages is to help the user, so we no index the pages. They have no SEO value for us. However, we make sure that there's enough content on the pages that someone does go to it, they can navigate properly.
Oh, okay, cool. So then that kind of flows to the next question. Where, you know, on a site, where is a link getting the most SEO juice?
The most SEO juice.
Back away. Come on. He knows the answer. That's why he backed away.
That's uber technical. I would say the top page in that first paragraph.
Top of the HTML.
Huh?
Okay. Some votes for top of the page, top of the HTML.
And the first paragraph.
First
Put
paragraph.
a link in there.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a good, reputable site that you're linking to that is enhances the article. Don't link to someone just because you think it's a good link and it doesn't have that.
And anchor text. Pay attention to the anchor text.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good anchor text, good site, top of the page. Okay. That
Good content on the page.
Okay.
Good, good. Hashtag good.
I think that's kind of reasonable. I don't know. From Google's side, we wouldn't say like where on the page you would need to put stuff to get the most value out of it. I think it really depends a lot on the context. But I think these are good tips. I mean, if it's an important link on a page, then it'll be on top of the page in general.
So, but do your crawl bots know what's important?
Ooh, I think Googlebot has.
No clue.
No, oh man, I was gonna say used to have evolved from that like drunk, irritable toddler to a popular girl that's good at ignoring bullshit. So I think they're better.
That's an awesome.
So I think they're pretty good at understanding the intention both on placement and within the rest of the site and how you treat the links and the content. So, but I am an optimist and get a lot of hell for that.
So how old is Googlebot, would you say?
13.
Wait, this conversation could get weird real quick.
No, I mean, any weird. You're understanding websites and like you were saying, taking bullshit, like, you know, like how old would you like still?
Well, see, bots work like dog years.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it doesn't matter. They
This is
seem to evolve a
complicated.
little faster than us anyway. Or at least some of us. Google evolves faster than myself, I should say. My humor's stuck in the 15-year-old phase, so.
Okay.
Leave it alone.
Learning. So
Machine learning. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what advice to add to that.
Okay.
Okay.
I forgot the question. By the way.
Because there was an area where they said that rank brain is like a 5-year-old, so that's I remember there was an article about that. But anyways,
Rank brain. What you feel is
that Google right now is kind of like still like a child. It doesn't really understand it. It understands a lot of things, but there's still a long way to go.
Of course. Yeah. I think that's something where if you work outside of search, you might think that search is pretty much complete and like, what are all these people doing at Google? But when you work on the SEO side or in search, then you realize like there's things happening all the time and things are changing all the time.
So basically, Googlebot has a short attention span, and we need to keep everything above the fold.
Users have a really short attention span.
Yeah, users have a shorter attention span than Googlebot. I agree.
Yeah.
When was the last time you read a whole article?
Very true.
2007 for me.
That's why we have to have good headers.
Bullet points.
Absolutely, formatting is out. Yeah.
Are there any goodies for next year that you're going to be adding to web Search Console, like voice search add-ons, or no?
Oh, voice search is already in Search Console, but we just don't.
No, I'm saying more in depth, like so we can really see.
I don't know. So, like when it comes to voice search, my feeling is that if you're an SEO and you're focusing on keywords and text on page, then you're not really doing voice search like the right thing, because on voice you have a lot more opportunity to do interactive things. that you can't really do with just a normal page and focusing on keywords.
Yeah, but what do you do when there's obsessive clients that are still, wanting those keywords? And,
you have clients, Baruch. You have to fight with them.
Quit letting them boss you around, Baruch.
the Friday board, there's a meeting and it's like, yes, we still rank for this keyword, 7 years.
Yeah.
And we've even, we're still, and then when they don't care about the other stuff. But anyways, I educate and I show, but definitely I think voice search is more like long tail and, yeah, it's more creative and I think it's more fun, but it's something that,
it's something also that's more forward-looking, at least at the moment, where like creating a voice bot to interact with is not easy, and it's not something that will guarantee business success. But it's something where if you practice with that now, if you try these technologies and tools out, then you have a bit of understanding where it might make sense and where it might not make sense. And I think that's a reasonable thing to kind of do. And when talking with clients, obviously, like trying to sell them on a voice bot will be really hard because you have no idea what the business output will be.
It feels similar to native apps. It's going to make sense in specific cases, but it's not a worthwhile investment probably right now for everyone. I would spend time looking at the research and the data that's out there. Like Bing actually does a good job of putting out a lot of research on their voice data and how they're seeing it in search. And I think if you want to be seen, start asking voice queries yourself that are related to your customers and see what's returning. Sit down and start using it and see what's happening. A lot of it might be coming from surprising sources. I feel like a lot of structured data is able to give those quick snippets out or really quick answers, but just start there. And if your client's bugging you, ask them to start asking keyword-rich queries to see if the responses are helpful or if they're even an appropriate answer, if they have the right information to serve.
a lot of them feel that all of it is, should be on our shoulders. There's things that they don't need to do.
I subscribe a vacation for you for it.
I believe that key to the voice search is the content uniqueness to actually answer exactly what the customer is looking for. Because somebody did the study, I don't remember the company, but they found that some pages will show up on a 0 position even if they are ranking on a 7th page. So Google will realize that this page has the huge click-through rate, it has conversion rate, and has unique content. It will just put the position 0 answer right away without even ranking that page on the first page.
Something like a frequently asked questions page?
Well, I mean, it's something where if it answers the user's question in a short and direct way, then I think that can be valuable, even if it doesn't rank first in a normal organic search results.
You can be on page 2 and the rich snippet showing on page 1. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was John's, it's John, I forgot his last name, but yeah, no, he did a YouTube video on that. But for sure, like, no, I see that. Yeah, but it still doesn't help answering, the...
I don't think there's an absolute answer to a lot of things.
Is there a way to see what people will be seeing? Because especially with Siri on iPhones now going to Google, obviously
it's already defaulted on Google.
I have no idea.
It's already.
Yeah, all the iPhones are already defaulted to Google. Yeah, because
in Siri, wasn't it? Didn't it just switch from like Bing to Google?
Yeah.
And now, because obviously Siri displays search results and everything unique, is there a way to see how we would look or rank or show up there as opposed to the regular browser searching?
I have no idea. But if it's a normal search result, you'll see the end result in Search Console. So you wouldn't be able to kind of have that theoretical view of like, if someone searched for this, then we would rank here. But you would see someone actually search for these things, and we showed up here. So that's something you see, but you don't see it broken out by by type of device for things like voice search.
Okay, you guys are smiling. So that's probably coming in the future.
Sounds like voice is something everyone is kind of looking forward to. More information on, trying things out.
And how to.
Yeah, I believe it's the next step for Google from going from mobile to voice, because that's something that simplifies, in life. You just ask a question and you get an answer.
So how would you use that for businesses?
For businesses, bring clients to the page, basically answer what they're looking for.
So
there's the assumption that voice is just really response that leads to a page. I think the more interesting question is how can a user get their answer satisfied on just voice without, say, Siri directing you to it?
Yeah, I don't think that will still.
I mean, would that be like I think in your case it's probably easier because people might say, oh, I want to buy this from Macy's, and Google could theoretically say, okay, you'll get it tomorrow, like in an ideal world. But for like a normal general business, how would you kind of see that kind of transactional interaction or like the business value?
Where's the business installation of services like apps, right? So voice query, an answer could, the voice service could recommend an application to install. So that's a good distribution.
Okay.
But I just feel before even people get into voice, like they're going through like 10 Google reviews or whatever other reviews it is, and then they're going to the website, and then they might make another voice search. That's from what I see now that's happening.
It's going to become more and more voice searches. Yeah.
But how am I gonna? Is Google Home or Alexa gonna read like 10 Google reviews, which will take it? I want it fast. I don't want to have the reviews. Being...
What Alexa does, they have an open SDK, so you can basically create your own app that will just you'll say Alexa, go to my website, and then search for blah, 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 and Alexa will get an answer for you. So, but this is something that you'll have to train Alexa for.
Yeah, AI needs to be trained a lot, so.
Yeah. I think Google has API.ai, which has a new name that I forgot, which makes it fairly easy to kind of set up this interactive agent type setup. And there lots of example codes I saw that might be interesting to try out as well. But it's something where I think at the moment it's still at a stage where you're trying things out and nobody really knows what users will end up doing. So it's not something where you can go to a business and just say, I will set up a voice agent for you, and you will make lots of money because you're like the first pizzeria that has voice agent set up.
Yeah, but you guys are pretty good at predictive.
Like business model.
They're very good.
Voice action API for Google.
Yeah.
And Baruch, it looks like there's some pretty good documentation on the Google developer site, and there's some Stack Overflow conversations, so you could go check that out.
I do. I read more of Yuval Harari's books now. I stopped reading blogs.
I don't know who that is.
Too bad.
It is.
Okay.
You should check my Twitter feed more often.
Okay, we will check your Twitter. I hope you don't quote the whole book. You only have 280 characters. So.
So if they're wanting answers through voice search, is content length still going to be important for voice search?
I don't know. So I guess if someone is searching for part of your page, then if you have a lot of content on your page, you have more parts that could be relevant. That's one aspect. But I think it's also one of those things where trying to take the traditional web search approach and just applying it to everything around voice might not be the right answer. So I don't know. I think it's something where it's probably worth working with your users, maybe doing some user studies even to see how they would even try to find your business through something like a voice search. Or maybe you'll find out like nobody's actually using voice search to search for my business at the moment, and I can just pause it for a year and look again a bit later. Because looking back at things like around the mobile, when people started using mobile more, in the beginning, it was also the case that some people just didn't use mobile phones to do certain type of things. And businesses were kind of in a situation, well, I can make a mobile-friendly site, but nobody's actually searching on mobile for my business.
Yeah.
Now it has kind of really shifted in that people use mobile for everything. So if you look back and you say, oh, nobody was using mobile, therefore I never make a mobile site, then you might be missing this part, just like you might be missing that when it comes to voice later on.
Makes sense. But now since people are using Facebook, if let's say we drive traffic to our site from Facebook, does that increase our crawl budget?
I don't think we care at all.
What is that?
You don't.
So if people are going to your site through Facebook, that's awesome for you. But I don't think Googlebot really cares.
It doesn't care.
Not in the sense that Googlebot doesn't like your site because you're cool on Facebook. It's,
okay.
it doesn't affect like how Googlebot crawls and indexes a site.
Okay, so they don't really care if the page ranking. Sorry, go on.
And the time on your site, so that's a good thing, and Google likes it. So more people come to your website, the better it gets.
No, that's a good point. But if it's coming from a site that, I know you guys don't believe in the domain authority or page authority, but if it comes from a site that might be a little bit more well established, wouldn't that help us with rankings?
Not necessarily, no. Yeah, I think there's an indirect effect there, of course. If people are going to your website and they like what they find, they might recommend it, and then we can see that recommendation. But just by going to a site doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. Otherwise, you would put like your iframe on other people's sites, and it would load your site all the time. That doesn't really mean anything.
But you're taking the 13-year or 14-year consideration just a little bit. Like it's like a small signal, though. Now, like I've been around for 13, 14 years in the block.
I don't think we use that like traffic from Facebook at all. I mean, I don't even know how we would be able to track that for web search.
Yeah, social means, yeah, there's no correlation.
Yeah. All right, one last question before we close down.
What's happening December 31st, 2016 at midnight? What are you planning?
2016.
2017. What are you planning? New Year's? Is there any algo coming?
I don't know. Like
champagne and shrimp cocktails, baby.
Yes, Anderson Cooper and Google Algo all happening at the same time.
All right, Massimo.
All right, so
over to you.
First question, and if I have time, I'll do that. We've noticed on a couple of client sites that Google, instead of using the meta title and description, went out and put content on the page. Only happening on a couple of clients, not all. Research says if the description is spammy or other things like that, Google can opt to do that. And we pride ourselves on not writing spammy stuff. So I'm not understanding, I don't understand why, or if that's happening more often now, or are you guys going to take away the metas?
All right. I guess from a general point of view, we try to rewrite the titles and the snippets based on the user's query and the type of device that they have, because like the amount of space that we have.
Okay.
So that's kind of one thing that sometimes throws people off, in that you do a site query and you see your title there and you think that's what users see. But actually, depending on what users search for, we might show a different title, to try to make it clear that this page is really about what the user is searching for, so they should really go there. So it's not necessarily a sign that we think your titles are bad. It's just that we think for this query, maybe a different title would be more useful. But
I love it when you change titles. I love it.
That's done algorithmically, so sometimes we get it wrong too. So if you see us like getting the titles really wrong, then having the query and the page where you saw this would be useful feedback, and
Okay.
I can pass that on to the team.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Now, is that something that you are doing more now than before, and trying to judge and adjust that for the query? Has that changed recently?
I don't think so, but I'm
Okay.
hearing more people talking about it, so maybe
Thank
like
you.
some dial somewhere has been
Okay.
twisted a little bit.
Thank you. That's what I mean.
I don't think it's like by design we're messing with everyone's titles more.
Okay.
Can I
Perfect.
ask a question about our site?
All right.
It's about 301 redirects. So we did a 301 redirect. We did a rebrand about a couple of years ago. And then the site traffic has kind of consistently been about 50% of what it used to be. And we just haven't been able to get it back up to where it was. Concurrent, when we did the 301, we got a penalty because we tried to switch from folders to subdomains concurrent with the 301. I think it looked really messy, so we got a penalty for that. So that was cleared up in like a couple of weeks, but the traffic kind of just stayed below.
What kind of penalty was that?
It was for pure spam.
Okay. That's pretty
Yeah.
harsh.
So
That's a harsh one.
So we had Michael Cotton, an SEO consultant, look at our site. He said that it's probably something because of that, because everything on our site looks really good. He said the on-site offsite looks
So
really good.
usually the pure spam manual action is something that is really for like egregious spam.
Yeah.
Not like a technical thing like subdomain, subdirectory.
That was the only thing that we did. Was we switched from folders to subdomains on the destination site, and then we redirected the old site to that new site. But we did it all at once.
So did you get the manual action on the new site?
On both.
On both.
On both.
Okay. Because these things are done manually.
Yeah.
From manual action, and it would mean that someone from the website team was looking at both of your sites and saying, well, there's nothing of value here. We can take them out completely, which sounds a bit at odds with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of a reasonable site.
Right.
So I don't know what might have been the case there. It might also be that there was some kind of hacking going on, possible.
I don't think so.
Did you
Like
file?
user.
Yeah, we did the reconsideration. It got lifted pretty quickly. We explained in really good detail exactly what we were doing and what we're intending. We took off the subdomain because we figured that was the problem. It was lifted within like 2 weeks. So, but the traffic just kind of has been much slower.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's always tricky in situations where you're comparing something from before manual action and after.
Yeah.
Because after you've perhaps cleaned up the issues that caused this artificially higher ranking.
But nothing else changed. It wasn't like backlinks or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably have to
How
look
much
into the
since
site.
the action went away?
It's been like a little over 2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think from the manual action that would be that's kind of lingering.
Yeah.
Because once that's lifted, it's lifted.
Right.
And everything else is essentially just algorithm.
Okay.
So probably the current ranking is more like what we think the site should
That's
be
kind of the
ranking
correct
for.
ranking, right?
And maybe before you had that free bonus. That before Google algorithm figured it out.
Yeah.
So how long does it take Google to rank like a new content page?
Less than 1 hour.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, we can index it very quickly, but I think a new page within an existing website is a lot easier for us to understand than a completely new website. Because a completely new website, we have no idea of the context.
Yeah.
What we should be doing there. And we make some assumptions, and we show it in search, and then over time, it kind of settles down into where we think it should be.
Negative SEO?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Michael and we had another guy, CK Chung, looking. They both said that something is definitely wrong with your site. I mean, the ranking is not, based on everything that we see, it looks like everything
I don't think you can really say like what the ranking should be.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the tricky part. It's like you can look at things like the links and the content on the site, and you're like, oh, it should be
relative
here.
to the competition. I guess
But we use so many factors for crawling, indexing, and ranking. It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
I think with the exception of the first question that we had, like if you don't rank for your company name and the company name is not a generic word,
right,
then that's kind of something a bit weird.
Yeah.
But for normal content on your site, it's really hard to say where you should be ranking.
Right.
Just to close loop, for the woman who had the April 9th site, I found the forum post. So.
Oh, did you? Thank you.
I'll
still
there. We'll have any later today.
Thank you. Could I just ask John a quick question about that? You were just mentioning the fact that we don't rank for our business name is unusual. Does that sound like a penalty of some kind to you?
Well, if it were a penalty, you would definitely see that. That would be manual action. But it might be that our algorithms are getting something confused.
Right. Do you know where we could go from here? Would you just advise to speak to somebody like, Marie and keep trying to get advice from SEO professionals?
I would focus on the forum. And if you don't get a good reply there, just keep banging at the forum door.
It looked like Suzanne already provided you some answers, but I'll hop in there and usually other folks in the forum, other top contributors and other volunteers will come hop on. So I think it's a really good place to get peer-reviewed help where...
Yeah, she's pretty good. You're the best.
I did some things wrong there. I didn't really understand forum etiquette. I started a new post and I got into a bit of trouble with the lady who was helping me. So I've been a bit scared to post another question that, it might be the wrong thing to do, but I don't know where else to go. So
we'll figure it out. I'll bump it and we'll figure it out and take a look.
John, could you make a small suggestion regarding submitting something to the index? I mean, you can do that now, but just type in submit index and the little search box will show up without having a Google Search Console on the site. So suppose you want to index something too quickly. Can you create like a page where people can just go in there as opposed to just typing it in? Submitting to the index without having a search console.
Bookmark that search.
What?
You can just bookmark that search.
I know, but it's kind of sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is to kind of expand on that.
It's just a suggestion. That's all.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's take a break here. Thank you all for joining. It's been good having people from Australia and from the US and from Canada and New York join in. Hope to see you all again in one of the future Hangouts or in the help forums or on Twitter or somewhere else. And thanks again.
Thank you. This is going to be
Thanks for all your help.
Thanks for your help. Thank you. No, we really appreciate your time, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.